Facts, not fear.
The governor is set to give an update any moment now on the coronavirus.
Hotel rooms in Nashville canceled amid coronavirus concern.
We have just learned of a new case of the coronavirus.
As coronavirus threats continue to grow,
to save lives, to help people through their suffering.
We're cutting through the clutter, bringing you the latest and most accurate information.
The community is preparing for patients if the coronavirus continues to spread.
Separating rumor from reality.
We are looking to save the maximum number of lives. Everything else is going to come back.
Newsfeed now. Coronavirus Facts, not fear, begins now.
It is a finally Friday amidst all of the coronavirus and COVID-19 talk. Don't forget that. We still get a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, right around the corner. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. Special edition here of Newsfeed Now. I am Aaron Nolan. Look, the news continues to be flooded with COVID-19. Everyone in every community across our nation focused on the coronavirus and where we as Americans go next. Today we've got a big show. From Washington, D.C. to California, from the beaches of the South to the Olympics in Tokyo. Got a lot to get to, but again, our goal here is to focus on the facts. We don't want you to be fearful. We're going to give you the information you need to make the best decision possible to keep you safe. Now, the president is scheduled to talk in about 15 minutes. Normally, let me be honest, the president runs a little bit late, but if that address happens during our show, we'll go live to Washington, D.C. Let's talk numbers. The latest from the CDC, there have been more than 8,000 cases of COVID-19 reported in the United States. Some of the hardest hit states are New York, California, and Washington State. Take a look at this map on your screen right now. If you're watching on an iPhone or maybe a mobile device or a tablet, you can see these numbers, maybe a little bit small, but those big numbers, it's the darker red that we're focusing on. Washington State, nearly 1,200 cases. California, with 910, New York with almost 5,300. Deaths, 185 so far reported in America. Travel has been a big concern. To be honest, last week I was on the road and I was concerned then. Fast forward 1 week, we've got a level 4 travel advisory issued by the State Department. It's a warning. If you choose to travel internationally, your travel plans may be severely disrupted, is what they're saying. And if you're already overseas, you got to get back to the United States or you could be stuck in that country for quite some time. Italy passing China in the number of coronavirus deaths as well. Now, breaking news this morning, and I know a lot of you may be scrambling to get your taxes done. Well, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says the Trump administration has decided to push the income tax filing date back from April 15th to July 15th. Mnuchin announced the decision in a tweet this morning. All taxpayers and businesses will have this additional time to file and there will be no penalties. The Trump administration had announced earlier in the week that it would delay the payments, a move that Mnuchin said would leave $300 billion in the economy at a critical time. I want to take a look right now at the stock market. A lot of folks have been talking about the stock market because it's been up and down. Live numbers right now. It was a volatile morning this morning. It opened up in the green. Both the Dow and the S&P 500 briefly dropped into the negative, while the NASDAQ composite held on to its gains. But you can see that there where we're at right now. It looks like a gain of about 0.04% right now. So very small gains. Live look, though, there at the stock market. 40 million folks living in California have been ordered to stay in their homes with very few exceptions. Here's the governor, Gavin Newsom. He called on a lockdown to limit the spread in California that's dealing with those 910 cases. We were just talking about that. Also 19 deaths there in that state. There are exceptions to the order. Newsom says those who work in certain sectors can be out, including those at grocery stores, pharmacies, banks as well.
This is not a permanent state. This is a moment in time. And we will meet this moment together. And we will look back at these kinds of decisions as pivotal decisions. If we're to be criticized at this moment, let us be criticized for taking this moment seriously. Let us be criticized for going full force and meeting this virus head on.
I want to bring in Alex Limon from Washington, D.C., but she knows a lot about California. She has talked to lawmakers out of California. You've spent some time in California. When you hear the news of what's happening there in that state, I want to get your first thoughts on the proactivity thought of this governor.
Well, Governor Gavin Newsom initially tried to allow communities to handle this themselves. You know, each county on their own. So there were counties that issued similar measures before this, like in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco area, that also issued a similar order. But in other places, in Southern California, for example, Orange County, LA County, Governor Newsom asked bars and restaurants initially to voluntarily shut down, and they didn't do it. He also asked residents to stay home, particularly those over 65. He had, earlier in the week asked them to not leave their homes. The problem is that a lot of people continued to go out. They continued to ignore these requests. And so Governor Newsom said at this point, the community spread is so far and wide. There are hundreds of cases in California that are attributed to community spread. So these are not people who traveled abroad and got it there. They got it from their own communities, and people were not heeding the request from the governor. Now, we have also heard a reaction to this order that orders, 40 million people to stay at home in California, which is the 8th largest economy in the world, not in the United States, in the world. So one of the reactions we heard was from California Congressman Adam Schiff via Twitter. He said he was supportive of this move because it's just absolutely necessary to try to contain the virus. However, Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who is the Republican leader in the House of Representatives, was a little more critical. He said that the governor of California did not call him, and he would have expected that kind of a phone call to the entire California delegation before this order, this mandatory stay-at-home order was issued. And so he's concerned that some of the essential production of medical equipment, for example, whether that's all going to remain open. I will say, though, the governor did say essential services will continue. People can continue to go to essential jobs like in the medical field, and also can obviously continue to get groceries or medicine, things like that.
All right, Alex, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking the time here on Newsfeed. Now, this time of year is spring break. That's what this time of year is reserved for. In fact, I'm planning to go on spring break next week. Problem is, I can't go anywhere now. Along the Gulf Coast, it is hot to go there during spring break. We're talking about Alabama, from Orange Beach into Florida, Daytona Beach and Destin. Those are popular beaches, but a lot of those are closed now. Here's Debbie Williams with the latest from Orange Beach, Alabama.
By order of Governor Ivey, Alabama's beaches are now closed.
We understand. I mean, it makes sense, but no reason for us to stay. We came for the beaches, right?
A tough economic decision, but one that could save lives.
We can recover financially, hopefully. No one will that, but you can't recover from some of this other stuff if you're elderly and you get really terminally ill with that.
With large spring break crowds ignoring the health risks brought on by COVID-19 and no way to control the crowds, mayors in Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Dauphin Island, and the county commission requested the governor shut down public access, but she went even further.
All the beaches are closed, public and private.
I am a person that does do beach house rental. I still believe it's got to be done just to stop this virus.
Well, we wish they would stay open, and we were going to extend our trip, but now we're just going to head back to Colorado.
The beaches will be closed at least until April 6th, likely longer, but hopefully open before summer.
But I'm determined, let's find a way to be open by Memorial Day. If we're going to lose, we lose the spring. Let's don't lose summer.
Let's bring in Debbie now out of Mobile, Alabama. And Debbie, this is obviously something that is very serious. We're talking about community spreading, not just travel linked to the spreading of the coronavirus. I know folks may be upset about it, but what are other people saying about those beaches?
The locals are ecstatic that the beach has been closed. We're in the middle of our spring break season here, and so and once the schools canceled their classes and everybody headed south, the reservations down here spiked, and so there were a ton of people on the beach. The locals looked at that as not only the opportunity to spread the virus, but they're also taking all the groceries, all the restaurants, all the food, that type of thing. And so they are very, very happy that there is a steady stream of traffic headed north today because of what the governor did yesterday.
Before you go, Debbie, I want to ask you about maybe the thought process of what everyone, it seemed, around America saw from the beaches in Florida that were overcrowded over the weekend. How much of the decision had to be made on what the public was seeing and maybe the public perception of there's too many people there, community spreading is going to happen, we got to stop that?
That's exactly what it was. There was huge crowds congregating, and then there would be pockets of people that, you'd have the less than 25 or the less than 10. That wasn't so much the problem. It was those huge crowds congregating and not taking this seriously, and that was the potential threat to life here in this part of the country and on all the beaches, in Florida as well as in Alabama.
All right, Debbie, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time here on Newsfeed. Now, it really is affecting everyone. We went from California to the beaches. Now let's go to Tokyo. The 2020 Olympics are due to open up in Tokyo July 24th, but with the coronavirus sweeping the world, there's growing concern that the games will either be postponed or even canceled. I want to bring in Sandy Morris from Team USA. Sandy won a silver medal in Rio, and Sandy, you recently tweeted out that you think that the Olympics should be postponed. I'm curious why you believe this way.
I've given it a lot of deep consideration. This past Monday was the first day where Arkansas's facilities where I train got shut down. So I've had a lot of time to sit at home and think about it with nowhere to train. So the problem with trying to proceed with them is every single athlete around the world is going to be in a different scenario right now. It would be extremely unfair, in my opinion, to proceed because you have some people who have access to facilities still regardless of the situation. And then you have other people, like my friend who's an Italian pole vaulter who has been locked in her apartment for over 2 weeks and all she can do is crunches on the floor. So, there's only a certain number of weeks that athletes can do that type of training and still have enough time to come back and be prepared to not only compete at the Olympics, but prepared to compete at the Olympic trials, to go out and get qualifying marks. There are some athletes, many, who don't have qualifying marks. And then just the general concern of we're out there traveling around to new places, trying to find new places to train, putting ourselves and the rest of the world at risk by being forced to go out and find new places to train. So I don't know. I've been torn.
Yeah, Sandy, I know enough about you. We have known each other for quite some time, and I know you're looking for redemption. So for you to say that after winning a silver, you want to win a gold medal in Tokyo, it's difficult for you to admit. But I just got off the phone. It was a nationwide conference call with the USOPC. It's the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. And they were not willing to give a timetable right now on when a decision could be made. Do you think that there has to be a decision made maybe in the next few weeks, maybe a month or 2 months, in order to get the preparation together? And I'll preface that with a second question, Sandy. If they wait 2 months, 3 months, would pole vaulters, would runners, would basketball players have enough time to get in peak condition to participate and really aim at that gold medal they're all hoping for?
All I'm going to say is if we don't have good facility access and good training conditions, in my opinion, in the next 4 weeks, that's not going to be enough time to be able to go out and qualify for the Olympics. And, some people like myself, I'm qualified for the Olympic trials already because I've competed indoor season. Many athletes decided not to do indoor season in order to peak later for the Olympic Games. So they didn't compete earlier this year to start later, and now everything's canceled. So I think really 4 weeks from now is about the latest we can wait.
From an athlete's perspective.
From an athlete's perspective,
Before you go, how concerned are you and your fellow athletes that you've had communication with about COVID-19 and about what this is doing to our world, really? I mean, I know that you guys are in the best shape of your lives. You guys are the best athletes in all the world, but there still has to be some level of concern for this virus that is right now uncontainable.
Of course, and I think it's every person's duty as a citizen to think of the others who maybe aren't, I don't know, as healthy as I am. But now there's even statistics showing that even people in their 20s aren't able to handle this virus without a vaccine. So, we do have to think about the general public. We have to think about one another in a time like this. I think it's so important to, for this one time, athletes, we have to be selfish most of the time. That's how we're successful. We have to be selfish. But in this moment, we have to take a step back and realize that this is about our society. This is about our friends, our family, and about all the people that we don't know personally. We have to think about humans in general, and so that's kind of where my heart is. It pains me because I've given up my entire life to compete at the Olympics, but if we have to postpone them for the health of the world, okay, let's do it.
Well said. Sandy Moore, silver medalist in Rio, aiming to go back to Tokyo. Thank you so much. Not sure what is on the horizon for the Olympics as the coronavirus continues to wreak havoc all across the world. Back here in the States, several states are having to close restaurants and bars. Those businesses, well, now they're focused on takeout, delivery, or drive-through. Texas is now under a public health disaster for the first time since 1901. Governor Greg Abbott is following that health department declaration with executive orders for schools, businesses, and individuals. Here's Maggie Glenn with the latest from Austin, Texas.
Number 1, every person in Texas shall avoid social gatherings in groups of more than 10.
That was one of the governor's 4 executive orders. The second closes bars, restaurants, and gyms throughout the state, a decision previously left to local governments.
Provided, however, and this is very important, that the use of drive-through, pickup, or delivery options is allowed and, in fact, highly encouraged throughout the limited duration of this executive order.
The third bans visitors to nursing homes and retirement facilities, and the fourth shuts down schools until April 3rd at the earliest. Governor Abbott today also recommending but didn't require non-essential employees across the state to work from home.
Offices and workplaces, they remain open, but should only ask for essential employees to report to the place of work, and where feasible, allow and encourage employees to work from home or other remote sites.
Dr. John Hellerstedt reminding everyone the importance of acting now to flatten the curve.
If we delay, we will not only pay a higher price than is necessary, but will rue the day that we, all of Texas, did not choose to act decisively.
Let's go to Maggie live in Austin, Texas. Maggie, obviously everyone across the United States in every state from the south to the north is dealing with situations like what you guys are dealing with there in Texas. I'm interested in what folks are saying on your Facebook page, on your station's Facebook page about closing these restaurants and bars. Do they understand and do they think it's the right move right now?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's kind of interesting because I think we've kind of seen a shift. I think that people at first were a little bit, I guess, just not kind of understanding like how serious this really is. But I think with the governor issuing these executive orders yesterday, I really think that people kind of get it now. And a lot of these executive orders that he is giving also, he's still trying to help these small businesses. And we've seen small businesses are like really appreciative that he's really encouraging everyone to still support these businesses. You know, people are still able to get takeout from these restaurants, order to go, that type of thing. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think people are definitely nervous still, but I think people are kind of being more understanding.
What about the small business? I know in states across the South that the small business is the one that might suffer the most. We can stay home and we can make food. The small business thrives on us going to their business. How are they handling this news? And have you heard of any there in Austin that's maybe changing their model right now to do things differently in order to get the income necessary to pay their employees?
Yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment for all small businesses. We did speak with a few smaller restaurants earlier this week. One like fine dining restaurant that has never really done to go, but now they've completely shifted to go just to kind of be able to survive.
All right, Maggie, we got to wrap you up. I'm taking a look right now in Washington, D.C. The parties that are necessary for the president's daily address are on stage, so I assume that this is going to happen relatively quickly. You can see Ivanka Trump just walked in. I'm not sure who else. Maggie, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We do have breaking news out of New York. Before we get there to Washington, I'm going to keep my eye there. New York Governor Anthony Cuomo, is it Anthony? Is that right? Governor Cuomo has ordered that 100% of the state's workforce to stay home except for essential services. Big stuff there. This is a developing story. You saw our graphic just a moment ago. They do in New York have the highest number of cases, I believe, in the entire United States. So Cuomo making that decision now. Going back out live to Washington, D.C. Again, the parties are on stage. You can see the media ready for the president to walk in. Matt, do you want to hold here for a moment to see if the president walks in? Okay, we're gonna stay here. Matt, can you bring up the numbers again? I want to see that map one more time as we were talking about what New York was dealing with. And we've got a map that shows exactly where the coronavirus has hit. Each and every state across the United States, I believe all the states now, here it is, have a case. West Virginia was kind of that last state. Now it looks like they have 2 there in West Virginia. As I'm looking at this map, and Governor Cuomo out of New York making that decision, nearly 5,300 cases of COVID-19 there in New York. Here we go. We've got President Trump and the Vice President Mike Pence walking up to the podium. This is live.
Thank you very much. I had a very good telephone conversation, extremely good, with Senator Schumer a little while ago. We're working on various elements of the deal, and the Democrats are very much wanting something to happen, and the Republicans likewise are very much wanting something to happen. And I think it will. I spoke at length with Mitch McConnell, and there's tremendous spirit to get something done, so we'll see what happens. But my conversation was very good with Senator Schumer. I thank you all for joining us, and I'd like to begin by providing an update on what we are doing to minimize the impact of the Chinese virus on our nation's students. With many schools closed due to the virus, the Department of Education will not enforce standardized testing requirements, very importantly, for students in elementary through high school for the current year. They've been through a lot. They've been going back and forth, schools open, schools not open. It's been all standardized testing, and, you know, it's we're not going to be enforcing that, so I think you can let the people know. I think probably a lot of the students would be extremely happy. Some probably not. The ones that work hard, maybe not, but it's one of those things. Unfortunate, very unfortunate circumstance. We've also temporarily waived all interest on federally held student loans. They'll be very happy to hear that. And I've instructed them to take that action immediately. And today, Secretary DeVos has directed federal lenders to allow borrowers to suspend their student loans and loan payments without penalty for at least the next 60 days. And if we need more, we'll extend that period of time. Borrowers should contact their lenders, but we've given them very strong instructions. So we've temporarily waived all interest on federally held student loans. That's a big thing. That's going to make a lot of students very happy. And we have more to come on student loans, more good news for the students, but we'll do that at a different time. This morning, the Treasury Department also announced that we're moving tax day from April 15th to July 15th, so we're moving it out to July 15th so that people will have time and people will be able to, hopefully by that time, we'll have people getting back to their lives. Families and businesses will have this extra time to file with no interest or penalties. We're getting rid of interest and penalties. However, if you have refunds or credits you would like to claim, you may still file. In other words, you can file early if you are owed money by the IRS. Other than that, we're moving it all the way out to July 15th. No interest, no penalties. Your new date will be July 15th. Today, our team will also provide an update on our continuing effort to prevent the transmission of virus across America's borders. And I watched what's been happening in California with Governor Newsom and this morning with Governor Cuomo, and I applaud them. They're taking very strong, bold steps, and I applaud them. And we're all working together. We're working very closely together, including those two governors. But I would say, based on the call, the media was there, I think we can say that with respect to virtually every governor on that call, I think every governor, we had almost all of them, if not all of them. And I would say that you could see for yourselves that the level of respect and esprit de corps working together was extraordinary. There was nobody angry, nobody upset. We were able to help them, and that's what we're all about. We want to help. We're doing things that a lot of people wouldn't be able to do. But the relationship with governors and states is, I think, very extraordinary, especially under the circumstances where this just came upon us. We're working with Canada and Mexico to prevent the spread of the virus across North America very closely. You heard what we did yesterday with Canada. And Secretary of State Pompeo will be making a statement in a little while having to do with Mexico and the border. And Chad Wolf will likewise be making a statement. There's a joint comprehensive effort in collaboration with our neighbors. The measure and all of those measures that we're putting in place will protect the health of all three nations and reduce the incentive for mass global migration that would badly deplete the healthcare resources needed for our people. And so we are working very closely with Mexico, very, very closely with Canada. The relationship's never been better. We're all working toward the same goal. Our nation's top healthcare officials are extremely concerned about the grave public health consequences of mass, uncontrolled cross-border movement. And that would be mostly, and even beyond, but mostly during this global pandemic. Every week, our border agents encounter thousands of unscreened, unvetted, and unauthorized entries from dozens of countries, and we've had this problem for decades. For decades, you know the story, but now it's with the national emergencies and all of the other things that we've declared, we can actually do something about it. We're taking a very strong hold of that. And we have before, but this is now at a level that nobody's ever approached. In normal times, these massive flows place a vast burden on our healthcare system. But during a global pandemic, they threaten to create a perfect storm that would spread the infection to our border agents, migrants, and to the public at large. Left unchecked, this would cripple our immigration system, overwhelm our healthcare system, and severely damage our national security. We're not going to let that happen. So we have a lot of information, and they'll be discussing that in a moment. To confront these public health degrees, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has decided to exercise its authority under the Title 42 of the U.S. Code to give customers of border protection the tools it needs to prevent the transmission of the virus coming through both the northern and the southern borders. So we're treating the borders equally, the northern border and the southern border. It's being treated, they're both being treated equally. A lot of people say that they're not treated equally. Well, they are. As we did with Canada, we're also working with Mexico to implement new rules at our ports of entry to suspend non-essential travel. These new rules and procedures will not impede lawful trade and commerce. Furthermore, Mexico is taking action to secure our own southern border and suspend air travel from Europe. So we're coordinating very closely with the air travel going to Mexico and then trying to come into the United States. The actions we're taking together with our North American partners will save countless lives. At the conclusion of my remarks, Secretary Azar, Secretary Pompeo, Secretary Wolf, we're going to be also taking some questions with Tony and Deborah, who you've gotten to know very well. But they'll be discussing certain things, and I think you'll find them of great interest. We're going to be providing tremendous amounts of detail over the coming days, but a lot of it will be provided right now if you'd like to find out about it. There's been a week of resolute action, tremendous relationships have developed with people that frankly didn't get along, people that didn't like each other. They're now working together and maybe even in some cases learning about each other and liking each other. It's a nice thing. I invoked the Defense Production Act, and last night we put it into gear. We moved the National Response Coordination Center to the highest level of activists. I mean, if you take a look at what we did, the level of activation has been increased to a grade 1 level, which is the highest level. We're providing historic support to small businesses and to the states. The states need support. Normally, they do this themselves, but because of the magnitude of it, the federal government has gotten very much involved in terms of getting the equipment they need. So we're helping them. It's a responsibility they have, but we are helping the states a lot. That's why the governors, I think, in every case have been impressed and very nice. We enacted legislation guaranteeing paid sick leave for workers at no cost to employers. And I think it's very important. So they get paid sick leave at no cost to employers. We're accelerating the use of new drug treatments. We're advancing legislation to give direct payments to hardworking families. Throughout our country, Americans from all walks of life are rallying together to defeat the unseen enemy striking our nation. In times of struggle, we see the true greatness of the American character, and we are seeing that. A lot of people are talking about it. We're at 141 countries from what they're telling me, and some of those countries are really working in a unified manner, and they're working very unified with us, almost, I could say, a good number of them. Doctors and nurses are working nonstop to heal the sick. Citizens and churches are delivering meals to the needy. Truckers are making the long haul to keep shelves stocked. We've been dealing with the big stores and the big chains, Walmart. They've been fantastic, and others. They've all been fantastic. We've made it much easier for them to stock in terms of travel and travel restrictions. We're lifting restrictions so they can get their trucks on time. You're seeing very few empty shelves, and yet the amount of volume that they're doing is unprecedented because people want to have what they have to have, what they feel they have to have. And they're also buying in slightly smaller quantities, which is good, because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here. So I want to thank all of those very great companies for working so well. Americans from every walk of life are coming together, and thanks to the spirit of our people, we will win this war. And we're winning, and we're going to win this war. America will triumph, and America will rise higher than ever before. We'll be stronger than ever before, and we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about relying on other countries, and I can say that I think in both a very good and a very bad way. Some good things came out of it, and some not so good things came out of it. So I'd like to move now to invite our team to provide information on the new measures to prevent viral spread at our borders, and I'll start by asking Secretary of State Pompeo to speak. He's doing a fantastic job, and like everyone else, he's been working very, very long and very, very hard.
All right, that's the President of the United States addressing the nation as he has each day for more than a week now. We're going to wrap up our show here. You can watch the rest of this press conference on this website. I want to quickly talk about a couple of things. One, what we saw from President Trump, he said that no interest rates are going to be charged on student loans moving forward. That was one interesting thing here. And he also confirmed what we've already told you on this show, was that tax day is going to change from April 15th through July 15th. You'll have plenty more time to do that. Going back to New York for just a moment, reading what Governor Andrew Cuomo ordered, that non-essential businesses to keep 100% of their workforce at home. And we were talking about the numbers before we went to President Trump. Those numbers have since been updated. You see them on your screen here. I believe it says 5,300 for New York. That number surged by nearly 3,000 overnight. Now the state of New York has 7,100 cases of the coronavirus. Governor Cuomo, and this is a very interesting quote, he said, this is not life as usual. Accept it, realize it, and deal with it. A lot of changes happening very fast when it comes to the coronavirus. I'm sure your local governor is issuing statements throughout the day. I encourage you to stay informed there. We will be here giving you facts all along the way. But one thing that I want to focus on is, guys, it's a Friday, and I want you to smile every once in a while. So I posted this video on my Twitter page. I'm going to share it. My producer told me not to. Matt, I'm sorry. I'm breaking the rules. I'm going to share this. Take a look. Tim, we're going to the second computer here. This is a little girl hugging a fish and talking to the fish.
It's okay, fish. It's okay. I worry. It's okay. It's okay, fish.
That's exactly what I think we all need to be doing. Maybe we all should hug America and say, it's okay. I love you. It's okay. We're going to make it, folks. I promise you that. You can always follow us and interact with us. You can use the hashtag Newsfeed now. You can follow me at Aaron Nolan News. Let's take a weekend break. We will be right back here at 10:30, but you can check the brand new Facts Not Fear when it comes to coronavirus on this website, 3 o'clock East Coast time, all across the United States. Have a great weekend, folks.